Today we've got an '03 Chevy Silverado here in the shop. This is an 8.1 liter with an Allison transmission. And this is a relatively popular request, especially around the fall time of year. Now this truck's a little old for it, but the request is, I've got a snowplow in this truck. I just bought the truck and I don't want the lights dimming and running into some electrical problems per chance when I'm snowplowing this winter. So I'd like a second battery added to it. And so a lot of shops across the north do this relatively frequently. And so we're going to briefly go over the procedure here. So it was not a big deal. I grabbed two brand new batteries. That's the first tip. If you're going to add a battery, start them out both at the same place. Get two new batteries. So we've got one installed in the driver's side front corner in the original location there. And then on a lot of the diesels, you're going to see the second battery located up here, the passenger side corner by the firewall here. So I was able to go to my local parts store and get an auxiliary battery tray. I unbolt some brackets. This one slides right into place. I grab my new battery and install it. I got to add the hole down yet, but other than that, this new battery is already installed. Now we got to connect the batteries, and that's where some of the questions come in. Everybody's got different opinions on how to do the wiring here, and we're certainly not going to be putting these in series. We don't want to create a 24 volt circuit. We're just looking to add to the 12 volt circuit here, give a little bit more depth to our electrical system here. And so what I've done, I've got these battery cables here, and I really like this one here as a negative, for example. This one, it's got one heavy lead in which I'm going to connect to the negative post of my additional battery. And now on the front here by the water pump up against the cylinder head, there's a lot of bolts here and some studs, great access. I'm going to clean some corrosion off those to make sure I have a good clean mating surface. And I'm going to simply bolt this directly to the engine block. Now this particular cable I've selected here also has an additional lead. And I'm going to use this one to go down to the frame and supply an additional ground to the frame. That's one of the components of the electrical system that gets overlooked all too often. People forget about the ground side. It's very important. It's just as important as the positive side. So we're going to supply ground to the frame as well as to the engine block. And then I can just simply bolt this right up to the negative post in the battery. Now on the positive side, we're going to go a little different route. So now I've got a much longer cable here. And very similarly, I can connect this directly to the battery. But now I'm going to attach this to the firewall and kind of loop it around there. And then I'm going to go over to the original battery. And now I'm going to connect this to the positive terminal of that particular battery. Now you're going to find people say, well, go to the alternator directly or go to a junction block or different ways. You know, there's a lot of different opinions on this. Again, mine is that we're going to go directly to the positive terminal of the additional battery there. And so one thing to keep in note is that because of the snowplow has already been added here and some additional wiring, this thing's already got an additional terminal or a different terminal on that positive post of the battery. And so this allows it to thread in there to the battery, gives a great opportunity for me to bolt directly to this, tighten the nut up, and I'm going to have a great secure connection there. And then of course the negative terminal on that particular battery will go to wherever it went previously. We're going to leave that undisturbed at this point. So let me jump in here. Let me start routing some wires and we'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's all done. All right, we've wrapped up our dual battery installation, or almost wrapped it up. I still have to get a tie down for this battery yet. I'm still going to work on connecting, and kind of tying up this cable a little bit better to the firewall here. There's some studs here. Then we've got some actually kind of like a zip tie that slides over the stud. That'll help hold that in place, make sure that's good and tied up. Again, to reiterate, I've got my negative cable going from the negative side of my new battery, and one shot going down to the frame on the passenger side here. I've also got the main lead though going to the front of the engine block here, so we've got a good ground. As far as the positive cable, now I've simply gone from the positive on this side and gone around to the other side we had that stud for the original battery on the driver's side, and we slid over the stud there, torqued down that nut, and we were ready to go. Well, there you have it. Just like that, we've really doubled the capacity of the electrical system here by adding this second battery. The hope is that now the vehicle's owner will be satisfied as they're plowing snow, and we don't want any electrical problems at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning while the truck's buried in a snowbank. Thanks for tuning in.